Welcome to another episode of the Alignment Podcast. Today we have Matt Rieck, the CHRO at InZone Insurance, and more importantly, the author of the Employee Retention Bible here with us. Welcome, Matt. Thanks for coming on the show.
Thank you so much for having me on the podcast, Jacob. I really appreciate it. I'm looking forward to talking to you guys.
Thanks. Yeah, so in getting started, tell me a little bit more about where you've been and your life story in an elevator pitch and what you're most excited about right now.
Basic story is I'm a farm kid from South Dakota. I didn't grow up real fancy. I spent about half my life there, did all my school there and everything. Ended up out in California for school and then a job. And then I kind of fell backwards into HR because I like people way more than numbers and I'm terrible at numbers. So that's kind of a good fit. You have to know what your strengths and weaknesses are, like what you just suck at, right? And so I kind of fell into HR and I really liked it. And I've been in HR now for like over 23 years, man. And it's funny, the 6 companies that I worked for in my whole career, I'm 47 this year. The 6 companies I've worked for, like half of them have been insurance companies. Just those were the people that were hiring when I was looking for a job. So I'm at an insurance company again now in this point in my life.
That's awesome. And you wrote a book.
Yeah. I wrote a book last year called The Employee Retention Bible. And I actually wrote the book after I saw, you ever do something where you just watch somebody completely kill something that you wish you could be good at? Like he was so good at it. I watched this guy and his name was Gary Ridge, and Gary was the CEO at WD-40 for 26 years, the spray. And then he's also Gorilla Glue. And this guy did like a presentation, like a webinar I saw in like April of last year. It was so good. It was unbelievable. Every single slide he went through this PowerPoint, he had some reference to some book he did, some program, and it wasn't salesy at all. It wasn't scummy. He just weaved it in through like, this is like the best marketing thing I've ever seen. And he didn't even hawk any product. Like, this is amazing. And so I pinged the guy on LinkedIn afterwards and I was like, how do you do this? Like, how in the world do you get all these like speaking and consulting? Like, how do you grow your brand this big? And he told me basically, you got to have a vehicle. Like, you got to have something that's new or repackaged or something that you're going to sell to people or talk about. And it's the same thing like with anything that's out there today. Everything has been done before in some other fashion. Like before it was keto, it was Atkins, like rewind, then it was that carnivore. Like they just keep calling it different things, but it's like basically the same thing, right? And so but I worked for as a consultant for 6 years before I came to InZone, Jacob. And I had 121 clients that I consulted for over those 6 years, and so many of them had the same problem. And a lot of the problems came down to 2 main points that I saw over and over. One was they didn't know how to fix their company culture if it wasn't working for them. And 2 was once they realized how much money it cost them to lose their employees, they knew they needed to retain them, but they had no idea how to retain them. So those are the 2 things that I decided to write the book about to try to help companies fix.
That's awesome. So 121, were most of those in insurance as well?
No, some of them are insurance. A lot of them were just small business owners. Like they started with just one guy. He had he went to HVAC school or something, started a small business. Now he had 12 employees, that kind of thing. But every single time you went through, and that company had people that owned businesses, probably up to about 1,500 employees. Most of those were like 10 people up to 1,500. That was kind of the size that they worked with. And I was just like, all these businesses have the exact same issues over and over. And a lot of them just have no idea how to fix them. Had set out to figure out okay, so why is there so much turnover at companies, and how do you fix that going forward? And so because if you have a really good employee, especially your top salesman or a great marketer or whatever, what happens is we call those people A players, like your rock stars. They will generally go through a 3 or 4 year cycle before they leave most businesses, Jacob. And they do that cycle because it's year 1, they're learning the job. Year 2, they're really getting good and mastering it. And by the end of year 3, they're kind of bored and they're what's the next thing? So your job as the employer is either to be here's the next thing here, or by the end of the year 3 or 4, they're going to find the next thing somewhere else. And so how do you do that? And how do you keep these people? And so basically it comes down to a program set for employee appreciation where you're constantly hitting people with giving them training, development. There's an old quote. You know who Richard Branson is? The guy that owns Virgin Atlantic, all that. Yeah. So he has a quote that says train your employees so good that they could leave, but make the work environment so good that they would never want to. And so that's like the goal. But the average number of years that somebody's in a job at an American company right now is 3.4 years. And now if you think of the extremes of that, okay, so you're gonna have like your temps, your temporary people, your seasonal people that'll drag the number down on one end, and you have your people that are at their job their whole life on the other. It balances out to only being 3.5 years that somebody's at a job. Like, so you think of how much time you have to put into somebody to get an employee like that and like get them up to speed and get them good at their job. Like the first 6 months, you have no idea what you're doing. And so you do all that. So you get like basically 3 years out of the guy and then he's off. And then like all his relationships are gone. All of his, customer contacts are gone. All of his institutional knowledge is gone. And then you have to start somebody all over new in the cycle. And it's like, man, that's a lot of money for companies. And the other thing I found out in the process of that, Jacob, is companies have absolutely no idea how much it costs them to turn over an employee. Because if they, like the companies that have figured it out
Yep.
are all in on fixing it, man. Like if you go to like a really high statistic, like if you go to BLS, the Bureau of Labor Statistics, they'll tell you it's a year and a half of the employee's salary to turn somebody over. So like the last place that you were at before you started, hire aligned, then that would have cost the company over a year's salary to replace you. And like if you tell a CEO that and they haven't been through this exercise, they'll think that sounds crazy. Like it doesn't cost me that much to replace Jacob, but you're like, hey, let me do this really simple formula for you. How long have you had somebody just sit at your company and basically be like a nice house plant? Like they don't do that much. They're not really trying to do the bare minimum. Like you haven't had enough of a
Yes.
reason to get rid of them. When I ask that question to like people in business, they're like, not just months, like years. Sometimes they see that, right? So that's to start. That's a cost, right? Then you go, okay, if an employee out processes, they're probably going to do some negative reputation damage to the employer on the way out if they decide to leave, even if it's just within their own team. Like social animals, right? We kind of vet our decisions against other people. So they've probably been in some negative talks with your own team. That's a little bit of damage. Then if they go out and it's not a great leaving, then you got like negative reviews on like Glassdoor, Google, Yelp, Fishbowl. It's not great for your company, right? So then all their institutional knowledge, their relationships go out the door with them. Now you've got to write a job ad. You've got to post it. I know because I have to pay for these on LinkedIn and Indeed that like I've got 81 open job ads at my company right now.
Wow.
Each one of those job ads, per week, Jacob, gets 60 to 110 people per week applying to it. Now I got to have somebody sort through those. Then I got to have somebody schedule interviews, get down to like 5 people that you can actually do it. If they show up to the interviews, like we talked about and joked about, not everybody always shows up, right? Then you're going to go from there and you're going to go like, okay, so you get them in, you go through multiple levels of people to interview for the job. Then you got to get them background checked and onboarded. Then you get them in their seat. And is the person that you interview that was a great interview, does that also mean that they'll be great when they show up to work? Not necessarily. Some people are really good at interviews and they're terrible. You're like, after a week, you're like, who did I hire? And then some other times you're like, I just needed somebody. Like there's a pile of work on that desk and I needed a body. So I hired this lady and like she turned out to be great. It's not an exact science. I still screw up who I hire all the time. And I've been doing it for 23 years. So you do all that. And then you got 3 to 6 months where they don't know what they're doing, depending on the skill set of the job. So like all of that. And then you go, oh yeah, a year's salary totally makes sense now to lose an employee. So then you go, well, how many employees did you lose last year? You ask a CEO and they'll be like, I don't know. I got to ask HR. And so they'll run it and you go, okay, so HR, how many people did we terminate, lay off, and quit last year? And they'll be like, 23. So then you do 23 people's salaries times their salaries for that year. And you're like, this is millions of dollars that we're losing in turnover every year. So I wrote the book to try to fix, first of all, to identify the problem for people like, hey, this is happening in your company and costing you millions of dollars, whether you understand it or not. And then how do you fix it? And most companies don't know how to fix it, Jacob.
That's Hey, I mean, you're speaking the language of the things that I think about all day. I was on a call with a VP of sales a couple
Yeah.
weeks ago. We were talking about this problem where he was like, "Hey, you know, I hired somebody who seemed like they were going to kill it the first 6 months. We were like, great, they're on track.
Yeah.
They're kind of a deep enterprise medical sales." And he said it takes 18 months to get somebody fully onboarded. They're at month 11.
18 months.
This guy just put in his 2 weeks of 3 days before we talked. And he said, he's like, look, this will cost me $400,000 in a year. He's like, and we're a year behind for one person. And he's like, yeah. And I'm like, wow. So that, that's worth a lot of the work that is going to be done. Like
It
it's
is.
insane. And
It
it's
is.
often I mean, yeah, I've talked with another. There's a massive company, 1,500. Well, massive, right? In the small business space where I live, 1,500 employees. You ask them, hey, how many? What was your turnover last year? Not a clue.
Yeah. They don't know.
Not a clue. Talk to HR. They're like, I don't know. Let's get the IT guy to pull like a report and to do it. And it's cool. It was 30% of your company.
30% of your company turned over in a year. And that's where I mean, like, if not only you understand the number and like the national average is 12, if you do that and then you go, not only that, but then how much did that cost you? If you put the number that that cost them last year in front of the CEO and the CFO, they will have a conniption fit. They will be like, we
Yeah.
need to fix this now. Something that was not even on their radar as a priority is fixed now. And okay, then this is what happens all the time. So I'll give you now the way to do it. So we've presented the problem, let's present how to fix it. So
Do
when I
people believe the number before you say that? Do people, how often are they like, no, I don't believe you?
no, almost no one understands until you explain it. Once you explain it, everybody's like, that makes sense. Now, okay, so you get to that point, and I do these speaking engagements and that kind of stuff, and I talk about, our company InZone, and like our company, to give you an idea, when you're talking about employee retention, our company, when I came on 2 years ago, was 268 people. Now it's 1,030 people. So think of
Wow.
how culture melding you're doing with that when you have
You've
all
been
these
busy.
coming in. Absolutely. Very busy as the head of HR. But the important thing there is that what works at this size company works at much bigger companies, works at very small companies. It's not different. People are not different. And I know from the people game for a long time that the things that will work anywhere, they cross all the boundaries. So I'll give you the simplest method, because the first objection that I get after I tell people what the cost is they'll say, well, I don't have any money to spend on employee retention. I mostly get that from HR leaders, Jacob. So I go, "Right, I'm going to give you a completely free program then that you can put in place tomorrow." And they're like, really? And I'm like, yeah, it's going to be very easy. So here's what I want you to do. So let's say that Jacob is your employee of the month, or if you want to call it fancy, he's your employee spotlight, right? Let's say you get permission from him, you use his company photo and 2 paragraphs about why Jacob was great and why in September he's your employee of the month, right? Now that photo and that little blurb about Jacob goes into your internal email to the whole company, or if you have a gigantic company, it goes to their team or their vertical, right? Then on top of that, then now you go, yeah, we have permission to use this. Okay, no problem. They're cool with it. Now it goes on the company's LinkedIn, Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter. Just do this, the photo ones, not even the video ones. Easy, right? So, okay, you just did that for Jacob. So what did that do? Okay, so what that did is now Jacob gets recognition throughout the company. He feels good about himself. He wants to stay. He's appreciated. And the other thing it does psychologically, if you think about it, is that Jacob also now has taught everybody else in the company with those 2 little paragraphs about what the company values. And then you get repeat performance of that through groupthink, because everybody wants to get raises. Everybody wants to get promoted. Everybody wants their bosses to be happy with them. So if you give them, this is what the company values, you get repeat performance. Now, what else does that little post do that went 5 places? Now, also people that are looking at your company for your company, that's like recruiting, right? They're like, oh, this is a great company. They appreciate their employees. And it also helps with retention on the back end because the employees feel like the company values us. So all that was done with a very simple little thing, right? Now, this is so easy to do 20 work days a month for every company ever, because you didn't just have employee spotlights this month. You had new hires, you had promotions, you had work anniversaries, you had birthdays, you had a sales leader last month, you had a service leader last month, and on and on and on. And I could do this for 5 minutes. So if you just take all of those things and do them for your company every month, and you have 20 work days a month, very easy to put something out on 5 places a month that show a tremendous amount of employee appreciation, also help with your recruiting, also help with your retention. That's very easy out the gate. How much did it cost you? Somebody like me or you that's been in the social media game for a little bit can do this for 5 minutes on our phone a day. Doesn't take any effort whatsoever. That's how little investment you can do to help brand, market your company, increase your retention, increase your recruitment, and keep your employees in place. See how easy that was? That's just a base level. So that's the floor. Like, all companies can be doing that for free. There's no excuse. You can set up free social media accounts. Hand the phone to your intern or the girl that is on social media when she's supposed to be doing her work anyway and would enjoy and be able to do it. Genuinely, it's going to happen. So just do it. Make it easy if you don't know how to do it, and somebody at your company assign it to them. And then they have a running spreadsheet of people's birthdays and employment dates. And then right there, look at all the free content you have.
Do
Don't,
you
yeah.
have you been able to quantify the impact on retention that just that has?
But here's what I'll tell you. This is rocket fuel to any company that does it because after a few months, you know what happens? Employees start to see that your company is doing this. They start to post good stuff that happens on social media for the company too. Oh, we had a company barbecue. We had a company golf event. And we recognized this leader today. Here's this new person that came into our thing today or whatever. And that's just the stuff for the employees. Companies also have, we have this new product. We have this product that we've redone. We moved into this new territory. We reached this new milestone. We made this new partnership. But how many companies, like just pull up your LinkedIn, how many companies do this on a regular basis for free every day? There's like, it's like a handful. You got InZone where I work because I push it. We have amazing, like Virgin Atlantic where Richard Branson is. You've got Jamie Dimon on LinkedIn every single day doing a social media post about, CEO leadership. Like this is the trend, how everything is going to go. Like old marketing is dead, like print, radio, TV, all this stuff. People have their phone in 16 hours a day, some people. Like, geez Louise, can we lean into this? What's a completely free marketing and branding for our business?
It's fascinating. Valuable information is usually free. When you tell people this, how many people actually do it?
A lot of companies do it. I started
Oh,
this
awesome.
when I was consulting, and every company that did it, like I said, the employees start to pick it up and do it all the time. Like at InZone now, all of our VPs do this stuff all the time. They're always posting stuff. So the company people will pick it up and continue it for you. And like I said, it's like a 5 to 10 minute a day job for anybody that knows what they're doing. And then on top of that, you can start to do other stuff. Like companies don't communicate well, despite the fact that they do, Jacob. Like if you even take like, you say like, okay, so let's say you have a company of 2,500 people and you're like, hey, how do you guys like communicate to your employees? Like they'll be like, oh, we might send like an email, every couple of weeks, something's going on at the company, whatever. And I'm like, why don't you guys have like an all company quarterly meeting where you like have all the chiefs get on and you're like, hey, these are the employee appreciation things that we just talked about. Like spend 10 minutes. Here's where the sales and like, here was our quarter last quarter, right? Here's how we did. Here's our sales and service leaders. Let's give them some props for like stepping up and killing it. And then like you have the CEO get on like the last 20 minutes and be like, hey, this is where we're at. This is where we're going. This is how we're going to get there together. And then the whole company, like, is totally aligned on exactly where you're at for that quarter going into the next quarter. And if you tell that to a business leader, they're all like, oh, wow, yeah, we should do that. And I'm like, if you ever get any resistance on that, I'm like, you don't have 45 minutes once every 90 days to meet with your company and tell them what's going on. Like, are you guys nuts? And that's why I think like companies that don't do this stuff, I'm just like bonk, like, come on, guys. Like this stuff is readily apparent and anybody should be able to figure it out. But very few companies do this stuff. And then they wonder why like they don't have the employees like connected. People don't feel appreciated. They're just kind of like, I just work here and like somebody down the street offers me $5,000 more, like I'm out, So you have to do this kind of stuff to align because the truth is, and this working in hiring, most people won't even go look for another job unless they have a bad relationship with their manager. And so like the having a bad manager is the number one reason that employees even go to the marketplace to look in the first place. Like there's stuff that happens. Companies get acquired, there's transitions, that kind of stuff. But that stuff is so minor in percentage. Really, somebody won't even usually go look online. Like even if your company is not keeping market pay, like with that, most people won't even go look online until it gets to the point where they're like, I can't stand working for Matt anymore. I got to go work for somebody else. And then they start to look. So like that kind of stuff where you're involving all your managers in training and development is super important. All that stuff's in the book too. And we put all that stuff in place at InZone. And any place that does this, it's easily replicatable stuff, Jacob. It's not rockets. I'm not that smart. I think the first thing I put in the book in the disclaimer is I stole every single thing that's in somebody that's smarter than me and I smashed it into something that works. And here it is for everybody.
That's awesome. Yeah, as you were talking, right, it's not just cool things to do, it really becomes the culture, right?
Yeah.
And our kind of working definition of culture is the shared experiences and beliefs of a group of people.
Yeah.
And when it's the constant recognition and setting the expectation, it's beautiful, and open communication and really trying to create that alignment. That's beautiful. That's beautiful.
It is. And then for anybody that's a chief of a company, an owner of a company, high up at a company that listens to this, what I would say to them is that those people will always quantify it back to what does it mean in dollars and what does it mean to the quarter? And what I'll tell them is that if you keep your good people and they don't leave and you don't have to replace them with people that you don't know are going to be good going forward and all the costs that come with that, your business will be so much more profitable long term.
Yeah, right. There's easy from the company side, it's easy to be like, hey, dollars, and this
Yep,
makes sense.
for
And
sure.
then you step down to, even just you go talk to somebody and the amount that they love their job, it it's it also translates to dollars later. And so that that's awesome. Well, thank you so much, Matt, for coming on today.
Yeah.
If people want to
Great.
learn more, where can they best find you and your book?
Okay, so they can find me on the spelling of my name is Matt, M-A-T-T, last name is RIECK.com, mattrieck.com is my website. They can also go on InZone's website, learn all about any of the career opportunities that are there, or if they're looking for any kind of insurance, they can go there from my company. And then last, they can pick up the Employee Retention Bible on Amazon. I think it's available on Kindle, paperback, and hardcover there.
I'm gonna have to go pick a copy up so I can
Yeah.
read
Yeah,
more.
absolutely. Well, this was a
Awesome.
wonderful experience. Thank you so much, Jacob.
Yeah, thanks for being on, Matt.
Yeah, you bet.